Welcome everybody to The Art of a Peaceful Mind. My name is Kim Root, your host, and today we have here speaking with us Reverend Dr. Louise Diana. She's a yoga therapist and a ordained minister of science of the mind. She has lots of wonderful stuff to share with us today, so let's welcome her. Welcome, Reverend Dr. Louise Diana.
Thank you, Kim Root. Nice to be here with you. As we were talking briefly earlier, this is a wonderful thing that you've put together and so needed in today's climate after the year that we've had, that it's an honor and it's a privilege to be a part of this journey with all of you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really passionate about getting this message from different perspectives even.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because each one of us is going to bring something very unique to our own experience, our own personal growth and development that will resonate for somebody in particular. So it's always good to have a variety of thought in a process, especially meditation, because each one of us has come in through a different door.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and these days there's so many things going on to, even if you're just hearing it through the radio or in your own life, like for you, you're out in California, right? You've had friends that were affected by the fires and
Yes, this has been a very challenging time out here. We have really been hit by global warming fiercely with the drought and with the fires. And it's a time to also reflect on the things that are really important. It's interesting when you talk to people who've lost their homes, lost all their possessions, lost everything that has been their identity. What they come through with is a very different perspective than you would think. It's really a perspective of gratitude that they're safe, that they're healthy, that they have each other. And if you live in Malibu, you're going to rebuild. It's a very, very California spirit out here. That's why I live here.
Yeah. So that's pretty amazing that you come away with that. But it makes sense if your life's been threatened and then you have your life. So.
Yes, and I think people draw upon their spirituality or their faith on some level when you're hit with loss or financial challenges or a health issue, is when you stop and pause. I'd like to think that I'm proactive with people, and that if you can develop a strong practice, that you're prepared for these events in life a little bit better, so that when they come, you have a way of managing yourself first and foremost, and then the people around you.
Yeah. So one of the things you do is yoga, and you talk about coming into your physical experience or into your body. Can you talk about, yoga and the benefit that it has for managing your mind? Because we're talking here about peace and inner strength and tapping into intuition. So what would you say?
Well, it was my gateway drug. Well, what can I tell you? It was my way into the mind. It was something that I started when I was very young. I've been teaching for 39 years, which is extremely humbling. And when I started, it was a little bit off the beaten path. Nobody really knew what I was talking about. And I really experienced as a young person something that was very unique in managing just being a young adult and how I was going to live my life. And when I hit the mat for the first time, I knew I hit on something that was very quieting, soulful, meaningful. I also wanted to look good. So it was a good way to stay in shape and be in touch with my physical body as my body has moved through now decades. So when I began to find that through my practice, I couldn't really help but understand that this was also affecting my outlook on life and my perception of life. I know a lot of people struggle with their body because they're in pain. They may have had an injury, or they may have not been taking the best care of themselves before they hit the mat. But once they do and become more aware of their inner self and their ability to stop and pause, the body suddenly starts speaking to them in a very different way. And once that dialogue starts, then you can't help but open up to what's actually going on in the mind. So I think for a lot of people, especially those people who are viewing this with some trepidation about starting a practice, you don't have to be sitting on a rug in a cross-legged position chanting Om, although that is a wonderful way of beginning. But you can start just by exploring your own physical being and what it's like to be living in a body and respecting it. And if it's appropriate to your condition, healing itself and putting it back in repair. And then once you begin that process of just being comfortable in your physical body, then you're open to really dealing with the biggest challenge. And that's all the noise of the mind.
Yeah, I've also been doing yoga about 30 something years. And I remember when I first did it, I'd been trying for a long time to lose weight. Lots of different diets or whatever that never worked. And when I found this center that had yoga in it, I was doing it 4 times a week or something, 3 or 4 times a week. And it just automatically started coming off. I was enjoying myself. I was happy. I was still eating everything I wanted, but what I wanted changed. So it really does, without trying so much, it just changed me. So what have you seen happen for people as you work with them?
Oh, I've seen remarkable things over the years, just absolutely remarkable. I lived in India for several years, and when I came back, I took my practice to a whole other level, as you can imagine. And then I really started seeing drastic changes in people. And I love to tell this story because it's so appropriate to what can happen to a person. I was doing a retreat once, and I had a woman come. I was doing a retreat actually in Ojai, and a woman came in from Arizona who was not a student of mine. She had just heard about it, and she was going through a real rough patch in her life and going through a divorce and a change of her work environment, and was unhappy with her physical body and just needed a break. And she came to California and kind of blended in with my crew, and we had a wonderful, wonderful retreat. And I really never heard from her again. And about 2 years after that experience, I got a handwritten letter. I opened up an envelope, and there was about 5 pages handwritten, which was already impressive. And a picture fell out. And this picture was just this beautiful, slim, very happy woman. And I had no idea who it was until I started reading the letter. And when I read the letter, it was this woman who had flown in from Arizona and gone to this retreat of mine. And her whole life had transformed.
Wow.
This was a 4-day retreat. It was not my intention to transform anybody other than just to give them a wonderful experience to get in touch with their bodies and clear their minds out. Mm-hmm. but we never know when we're teaching what really hits. And something struck her, and she went home and she made a very, very obviously strong change in her life. So things happen to people all the time. And of course, in the day-to-day teaching, and you develop relationships with students, you just hear wonderful stories about people and what happens to them, physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Mm-hmm. So, can you explain more about what you mean by coming into the body or living in the body, or that experience, and how it can change us, or what it is that you do in order to help facilitate that for people?
Absolutely. I encourage my students when they roll out their mat or they wake up in the morning to ask themselves, how do I feel today? How do I feel today? How is the world affecting me right now? How am I managing my commitments financially, emotionally, familially, professionally? How is this landing on my body? So every day you have some self-inquiry. That's why we call it a practice. We're not rolling out our mat to have the perfect session of yoga. We're rolling our mat to simply ask, how am I doing? How are my shoulders? How's my back? How's my spine? How am I digesting my food? How am I moving? How am I getting in and out of the car? Or how am I getting on a train? Or how am I getting on a plane? How am I managing my physical being? And what comes up is a variety of issues for people. So I believe great change happens through awareness. So as soon as we start becoming aware of something, we have the ability to change it. If it doesn't make us feel joyful and inspired and happy and physically pain-free, it's a big goal, but it's a goal that we want to embrace. And I think more and more, the beauty of living right now is that more and more people are waking up to wanting to experience that in their life. And it's just wonderful to facilitate that inquiry.
Mm-hmm. So I know that there are things that we know that we want when we go into that practice, and when we start coming in and experiencing a deeper self, a deeper truth inside ourselves, or the true self, or whatever we want to call it. And then, at least in my experience, and I hopefully for people, you meet up against something that you didn't even know was there, that says, oh, wow,
yes,
that's who I am, or to be moved to tears by just the being alive and being a human being, and being someone who can make a difference, or for yourself, your family, whatever.
and letting go, Kim, letting go, just the ability to let go.
Mm-hmm.
And while see sometimes people in Shavasana with their hands so tightly closed, they're just, the fists are so tight, and it's just begin by letting your hands open up to receive energy. Mm-hmm. Just that simple ability to take in, to just center in and to take in. It's once you start being able to do that, it gives you confidence to go back to the mat again. And I think this is a practice. This is something that we do on a day-to-day basis. I had a client years ago who came, a gentleman who was bodybuilder, in fact. And he came in, and I think he was yoga curious, and he came into a class and moaned and groaned, all those tight muscles that he had. And at the end of it, he said, I'm done, right? And I said, no, this is just the beginning. You've just started to do this. This is just the beginning. And everybody has to start at the beginning. So when I get a new student, who's not in touch with, how they feel or, where they are. The first thing I say is have no expectations. Just be patient with yourself. Just be patient. And if you're not perfect, it's okay. And by the way, I have athletes that I've worked with, and I have people who are in wonderful shape. I'm in California, so I've gotten people ready for the camera to have that perfect body. But people that are drawn to my work are usually somewhat introspective also. So it's not just a physical path, but there's layers and layers that they're willing to explore and go through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is a perception for a lot of people about what yoga is or is not. And a lot of times when I have people come into my studio, they'll, they may be somebody older and they think, well, can I do that? Will I be able to do it? I'm not very flexible, but that's really not the point, right?
Yeah.
Or where you are.
And it's great also when you have a variety of ages in a room, which I love as well. So you see, you watch with wonder all the stages of life that people go through physically. And I think that's encouraging for people. It's, somebody who is older and has mastered at least one pose that they feel good in, I think is very inspiring for a younger person. Or if a younger person is struggling, and they can see that other people have been taking classes and coming regularly, that it's something to work towards. So I kind of like drawing a nice variety of people so you can really charge up the energy. By the way, that's not to dismiss the solo practitioner. There's something for everybody. Right. And there's some people who it's just fine for them to roll out their own mat and do their own practice. There's no one way. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with meditation. I love my own practice. I live at the beach here in Santa Monica, so if I have a rough day, I just walk a few blocks and my world is right. I have a lifeguard stand with a garbage can actually to the side of it. We like to keep our beaches clean here in Santa Monica. And it's my screensaver. So when I have a moment of pause in life, of reflection, and I'm not at that beach, all I have to do is invoke it in my mind. My screensaver is my lifeguard stand and that receptacle, and I see it clearly, and it just brings me into my center. On the other hand, I love teaching and I love participating in a group meditation where, there's a sizable group of people meditating together that is also incredibly healing. Mm-hmm. So either or works for people. Just find what works for you. Mm-hmm. There's no one way. Moving meditation, stillness meditation, chanting, singing. There's so many doorways. I came in through the lineage of Vipassana meditation, and my teacher was an extraordinary man by the name of S.N. Goenka, and I was thrown into circumstances, a 21-day silent retreat. Mm-hmm. I was just thrown in, and for me that worked. With my temperament and my personality, it was the perfect thing to go. But people will get value from this. Just listening and hearing all of our words, that will be their entree too. Mm-hmm.
So do you have any particular how-tos or tips that if somebody's just starting, or if somebody their mind is so busy they can't stop it, anything that they can do? Wow, that's a huge cup.
This is a wonderful cup.
I love it.
It's my morning green tea cup. Isn't this spectacular? Yes, I love this cup. Thank you for noticing, Kim. Um, well, yeah, I do. I think it's good to create a little space in your home somewhere. Uh, get a pillow or, a chair, whatever is appropriate for your own body. Um, I have an altar that I sit at. That's part of my ritual that I do. Uh, and I think it gives people a space to create a space. You can create an altar in any way that you want. I like to have a couple of pictures of my teachers over the years, and I do use incense. I'm a little traditional. I like to have my incense burning. Sometimes I use music. Sometimes I like to have a chant in the background, a Buddhist chant going. Sometimes it's silent, really just depends on my needs. And it's not terribly elaborate. I light a candle, a stick of incense, and sit and see what comes through.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be formal like that. You may be racing out the door in the morning and have to get your kids to school and get to work. That's a real scenario in the majority of people's lives. Have a chair, a favorite chair, and do everything that you need to do before you need to get out of the house, and then sit for 10 minutes and just let your mind empty itself. That's a hard task, but just see what comes up for you. Just see what comes up for you. Thoughts are things. See what it is that you think about all the time. And if you do not like what you think about all the time, then learn to start letting those thoughts go and focus on the things that make you feel joyful, inspired, and uplifting. And that's why a mantra could be good for people. It doesn't have to be a Sanskrit mantra, although it helps because it adds a little sexiness to it. But it doesn't have to be. You can repeat, if you're English or any other foreign language, I am peace.
Mm-hmm.
I am calm. I am stillness. And just keep repeating those words, have a completion, and then go about your day. Incorporate it into your life so it doesn't have to be the main event. Those of us who teach like a little bit more formality in it. I just think it's our path. I think it's what we like to do. But don't feel you can't do it if you're on the run.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the perfect time. It's not the perfect circumstances.
Right. It's never going to be. It's like having a conversation with somebody or something.
That's right. That's right. But I think people have to break that idea of it, being something that, you have everything perfect and then you can sit. The world has changed dramatically. When I started, it was very, very formal. And I like to keep that as part of my process for myself. But I have busy students. I have busy clients.
Mm-hmm.
My goal is to get them to do it every day.
Right.
10 minutes a day.
Mm-hmm.
Changes your life.
Right.
I'm sure you've seen it as well.
Yeah. Even sometimes I've decided when my life got really busy, even recently, I thought, okay, if I can't find time in between my classes or whatever, I just set my alarm 10 minutes early and sit right up in bed, close my eyes and just sit and watch and breathe. So,
Yes.
And it made a difference, for 15 minutes or whatever, and it makes a difference. And then I make sure I get it in. There's more elaborate ways to do it and physical postures to hold and chants or whatever, but at least that, even if my mind is really busy in the morning, I notice that makes a big difference, even if it feels like it's not at the moment, at the time that I'm doing it.
Yes, yes, yes. So let everybody know who's viewing this, break the formality if it doesn't work into your life, and make the commitment to yourself. The best commitment you can make is to yourself, because when we make our commitments to ourselves and we keep them, it gets easier to do it for other people.
Yeah.
It's, and I hate to use the D word, but it has to come up. It's discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that you do that requires self-inquiry requires a discipline to it. Mm-hmm. And that discipline influences every other aspect of your life. Mm-hmm. Right? Don't you agree?
Actually, yeah. I mean, it just feels good. At first, it's maybe hard to get something going, but it feels really good to be able to do it. It reminds me of being a kid. Actually, I hated school, but something I liked about September and like organizing yourself to go back to school, that for some reason it reminds me of that there's something very good about being able to manage yourself that way and to
yes
put yourself into a routine. And it quiets everything and changes everything. So yeah, that's right.
One thing I think that is important to bring up too is, eating can be a meditation.
What can? Eating? Yes.
Eating.
Yes. Right.
Just the act of sitting down and eating, because everything is all so connected, right, that take your time. Enjoy what you're eating. On my retreats, some of the ones I've done over the years are silent retreats. So your everything slows down when you're not talking, when you're not really engaged with other people. And it's wonderful to see people really eating slowly and mindfully and chewing and digesting. So how you eat becomes another form of, how about digestive meditation, where you're really embracing nourishment in your body. That might also make you think about what you're putting in your body too.
Right.
You're mindfully eating something, Yeah. You may have a second thought about, does this really embrace what I'm trying to achieve in my life? I think I'll make another choice here.
Yeah. Right.
It could ring a bell for you.
I mean, the taste comes up. I mean, you start to taste everything too.
Yes, of course.
So we're coming to the end of the half an hour, but I know you have a free gift to offer people. Would you like to talk about what that is?
I believe, if my memory is correct, I sent this over to you last week. A lot's happened since last week. I'm going to offer, for those interested, a 10-minute check-in. We're going to have to be very efficient with that 10 minutes, but we can do a 10-minute check-in with each other. I'll offer my email, and if you reach out to me, we'll have a schedule and a time frame, and we can connect, and I will address something that's going on in your life right now with brevity. So I'd like to offer that. And if you are interested in really pursuing your meditation practice, I have a meditation tape that I will give to you. There'll be a small fee for shipping and handling, but I'd like to offer that as my bhakti yoga for the holidays to you. And I'm assuming, Kim, you'll have all that information available to the viewers. That'll be great. That'll be wonderful.
All right. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day out there. Is there anything else you want to say before we sign off?
Well, just want to tell people you're missing the best party bus ever. Come on, be a meditator. Yeah. No, I think the world has changed so much in the course of even the last decade that for those of you who have been hesitating for whatever reason, sit with yourself, be comfortable with yourself, learn how to calm yourself down, care for yourself, listen, and begin that inquiry. And it's never too late, no matter where you are in your life. So thank you for allowing me to just share my thoughts with each and every one of you.
And thank you so much for being here. And thank you everyone for coming. And we'll see you next time. Have a great day.
Namaste.
Namaste.